Okay,
Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the Nantucket Commission on Disabilities meeting, April 3rd. And we're still waiting for a couple of members to join us. I'm going to take a roll call and just answer yes if you're here. Mary Beth,
yes,
Augie,
here.
and Nancy. And I'm Mickey Rowland, and I'm here also, and Brenda
I'm
McDonough,
here.
facilitator, is here. So Jeanette's online, but not apparently with us at the moment. So welcome Nancy Swain
Thank
to our
you.
commission. It's been a while since I know you've been trying to get on, and finally you made it.
I'm
Congratulations.
here, and that's what counts. Thank you.
Yes. Well, we're glad to have you. Nancy, do you want to just give us a quick comment about your interest in the commission and anything else?
Sure. I work at the Salt Marsh Center, and I've been there for almost 30 years. So my life evolves around our senior citizens, and a lot of the folks that are senior citizens also have some disabilities. So I found it to be very helpful if I could get on this board to find out exactly how the commission works and what I can do to relay to my seniors any sort of helpful information that would make life easier for them. And I found out just by reading Brenda's last months, or was it not July, January's minutes, exactly how intense and how vastly, the information gets spread, and what you do is beyond my comprehension. So I acquired so much information just off those minutes, and I'm so grateful. And these are things, with your okay, that I can relay to my people as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So happy
Please
to be
do.
here.
Good. Well, thank you. So today's meeting is really all about updating our group on what Brenda and I, mostly Brenda, has been up to over the last couple of months since our last meeting. So I guess I haven't done this yet. I'm going to call the meeting to order. A little late, but here we are. And we're going to go with the agenda as published without any changes. And there's no real public here for public comment, so we can skip over that. Let's look at the approved open session minutes for January 31st. Maybe I'll skip that until we get more members present, because hardly anybody, Mary Beth and Augie and me are the only ones. Let's try to do that one later. New business, I'm looking at the agenda. The new business is strictly all about the update. So Brenda wants me to do the update. So I'm gonna get
There's
started.
Jeanette.
Oh, there she is.
There she is.
She's muted. Jeanette,
I
you're
know.
muted.
That's okay. Jeanette, we can't hear you, so can you unmute yourself? Oh, I'm so happy she's here.
Jeanette, if you can hear us, you're muted. You have to hit the unmute button. There you go.
I'm not muted.
There you go.
There I go.
You
I've
made
been
it.
on for all the time.
I know you have been, Jeanette.
All right, go on. I'm
Okay,
here.
good. Well, good to have you, Jeanette. Okay.
Thank you.
So now with the update. So starting, I can't remember when these meetings were, but we had a few meetings. One with Rachel Freeman from the Land Bank. I guess this was a Zoom call. And we talked about the Sconset Public Golf Course. All these are really about the parking areas and the pathways leading from parking to wherever you're going. So one was this at the Skinners, or the public golf course in Sconset. The other was at the new Long Pond Landing, their new dock out there, and there's a public parking space and bench and picnic table there. And then another one was regarding NISDA out on the Wauwinet Road, where they have a public parking space, and it's not really clear what that serves, but I think they're sort of working on developing that area. As Brendan, can you fill that in a little bit, where the parking spaces are going?
I'd be happy to. So, so there's, they have a parking area out there, and they say it's in, oh, here's George, I'm gonna admit her right now, okay?
Good.
Here she is. Hey, Georgia. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
There you go.
Somebody came in just as I was coming in to go to the bathroom. So anyway, here I am. Sorry I'm
There you
late.
go. All right. Nancy, I just
Okay.
want to introduce everyone to you. We have Georgia Snell. You probably know her. Mary Beth and Augie. And Jeanette
Beth and
Topham,
Augie.
Mickey, and myself, okay?
Nice to meet
And Mark
everybody.
Fox
Hi.
is also on our commission. He was just unable to make the meeting today. So, okay, so out at NISDA, they have a parking area and it's not accessible. They got really some bad information about putting down these plastic molds and then filling them with either grass or pebbles, not accessible. And they ended up doing those plastic molds with grass in it. Up to, I believe there's a spring in the back, Eat Fire Springs, which that's the whole reason for that parking area, is to bring them back there. So what they'd like to do in the fall is they're gonna make that parking area an accessible parking space with an access aisle. And then they're going to, whether it's Bluestone, they're gonna make some kind of an accessible path from that parking area on Wauwinet Road to or close to Eat Fire, the spring and back there. There might be some kind of a landing there or something, she said. But that's, they want to have access to the spring and the building, anyways, access to the spring. And so that's one thing they're gonna do. And Rachel said that is a fall project, which I totally get. And then we went out to the Sconset Golf Course. And when we met with Rachel on Zoom, they have 2 parking spaces down in the parking area where the general public parks, and they have these borders, like almost like railroad ties. What do you want to call them, Mickey?
Landscape timbers, those.
Landscape timbers. Thank you very much. And the space is anything but accessible. The surface, the land bank timbers, the access aisles. So we ended up, after we had that meeting, we ended up meeting with, there's a golf management company out of New Jersey that actually manages both Maya Comet Golf Course and Sconset Golf Course. And the manager's name, his name is Matt. He came out to the island. We met on the 25th of March, and we met out at the golf course. They're going to put in 2 new accessible parking spaces where the general public is, and then they have this path that goes, the clubhouse is way up here,
Yeah.
and they have this very inaccessible path to get to the clubhouse. The slope isn't so bad, it's just the terrain. And that terrain, every time that there's a heavy rainstorm, that terrain just changes and it just becomes like a river there. So what they're going to do, and it may be a fall project too, is make that whole path an accessible path. And they know that the accessible path has to be like either brick or boardwalk, asphalt, concrete, or tile. It's got to be some hard packed surface that doesn't move and can sustain the elements. Just got to be a hard packed surface. So they know that. They're going to extend that path all the way to the deck on the clubhouse. They're going to extend it there, and then in addition to that, they are going to put in accessible parking space right next to the clubhouse. And you can get to that accessible parking space. There's a road past the entrance to the golf course that like the employees use to get up there in the service trucks. So they're gonna put in an accessible parking space right next to the clubhouse. Somehow they're gonna ramp it. They gotta figure this out. They're gonna bring someone in to draw up the plans. They're gonna ramp that, they're gonna have like a ramp or a walkway to the deck. So the place is gonna be completely accessible. Everybody's gonna love it, including the whole general public. Everybody hates that path, including the people that are running the course, who are Billy Tanavich and Jack Moran. So they were very, very open to everything. It was really a really great meeting with them. So that will be accessible in the fall. It's a fall project. And then, what was the other one? Okay, Long Pond Landing. If you go out there, again, whoever their designer was for this Long Pond Landing knew nothing about access. So they recommended that they put down those molds again with pebbles. And I'm not talking small pebbles, all different various size of pebbles. The pebbles go all over the place. If you put your crutch in there, it's no good. If you put your walker in there, it's no good. And if you have a transfer chair, it's a total inaccessible area. The pier going out to over Long Pond is wonderful. Everything else is inaccessible. So I met with Jeff and with Liz, who work for the land bank. And what they're going to do, they're going to put in an accessible surface for the parking area, in accessible in an access aisle. And then they do have a path that goes right from the parking area to the pier, and they're gonna make that a completely accessible path. So you'll have an accessible path from the parking area to the pier. Now, up on the hill, they have 2 benches for like a viewing area for someone that doesn't want to go all the way down to the pier. They're gonna create another accessible path from the parking area, probably right where the path from the parking area, going up to the benches. And underneath the benches, they're gonna make it a platform. And so how they're doing this, they're gonna actually put in like if you want to call them boardwalks, they're low to the ground. They're going to put in boardwalks all the way to the pier. They're going to put a boardwalk, an accessible boardwalk, all the way up to the benches. And they're going to have like a platform, a wooden platform underneath the benches. So everything there will be completely accessible. When you go down the path to the pier, on the right, there's a picnic bench. So what they're going to do there is, from the new accessible path, they're going to extend a 5x5 platform so a wheelchair user can go on that platform, and they're pulling the picnic table closer to that platform so that it will be, the whole place will be accessible to all. So that will hopefully be a job that's going to be done by this summer. That's like a high priority of theirs. So that was the meeting. And they have another project going on at Lily Pond. They're redoing that whole pond area. We've been involved in the plans. The plans, I'm not gonna say have stalled, but there's not been much progress since the last time we reviewed them, but they're totally keeping us in the loop of those plans. And they also said that any projects that they have, they're gonna make sure that the commission is totally involved in the design phase of the project. Because when I was out there at Long Pond Land, I said to Jeff, Jeff, this isn't your fault, but whoever was your designer architect for this project at Long Pond, and I know it was a very expensive project to complete, knew nothing about accessibility. Just throwing that out there, like I wouldn't use. So hopefully they will not use that person or firm again. So that's what's going on with the land bank. All right, Nikki.
Yeah, they're also, this is a sort of an aside, they're also trying to upgrade to some degree the racket club facility.
Oh, correct.
Yeah, and we're going to be meeting with Ben Normand up there in a couple of weeks. He's going to be doing some plans correct, Brenda? Is that what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
So, the land bank is busy. Of course, they have a lot of properties open to the public. And, they've made a couple of blunders in the past regarding access. I think they're going to be much more forward thinking about it going forward on these new projects. So,
Yeah.
and correcting some things.
yeah. I think we have a really good relationship with the land bank, and they really want us on board to make sure what they're doing is correct.
So after that, so Brenda and I also met with, did you didn't mention this one yet, the high school football stadium.
Yep, you got it, Mickey.
Okay, so Chip Clooney is the facilities manager. So we met him up at the stadium. There's a serious problem there where they do have an accessible ramp leading up to their bleachers. So the bleacher is accessible. However, you can't really, it's grass at the bottom of the ramp. So there's no accessible path to the ramp, to the bleachers, and there's no parking anywhere near there anyway. The only real parking is right up at the back of the Cyrus Pierce School, and you've got to go down a winding asphalt path, but then you have to cross the oval athletic track to get to the bleachers, and that's gravel. And then you still have a long ways to go to get to that ramp. So they are gonna, I'm not exactly sure what they're proposing, but I suspect that the concept is to put a parking space down, provide parking
Two.
around, okay, 2 spaces. You'd have to access it from probably, I think, is it Cow Pond Lane or something, like in the back of the
Yes.
school facility off of First Way. Maybe it's just off of First Way, but anyway, it's back from the back. Brenda, you're looking at me like weren't they going to provide parking back there?
No, I think they're gonna keep the parking up right where everyone else parks, Mickey, and put 2 accessible parking space parallel to the
Okay,
parallel
right.
parking
We
spaces.
talked about that other access, but I think in the long run, it makes sense just to use the main parking area.
Right, yep,
So they have to improve that pathway down there. They also need to make some improvements to get to the hot dog stand or whatever they call their building for snacks during the game. And I guess they're going to leave the ramp and bleachers as they are, but create an accessible path to go all the way down there.
and there'll be an accessible path going to the snack shack. And behind the snack shack is the porta toilets, and they're gonna have an accessible toilet and an accessible route to the accessible porta toilet.
Yep. So they're going to try to get that done soon, hopefully before the fall football.
That's their plan.
Yeah. They also we met with them because they were talking about completely redoing the whole stadium area. So they have fairly significant, I think, multi-million-dollar plans to redo the football field. And this is at the preliminary stages. They've got an architecture firm working on it, and it'll involve, as I recall, all new bleachers, new tracks, a new snack shack location, kind of redoing the entire area. So that's a long way down the road project, probably. So in the meantime, they're going to provide access as best they can.
Yeah.
Should be pretty good.
Yep, and Chip and Michelle, they were just like so open when I sent them an email about like the football stadium. They were just so open about, come, let's meet us, let's talk about this, let's get this right. And they really want to get it done. I was telling them about a grant that the Mass Office on Disability offers, but they didn't want to wait. You'd have to wait a year in order to do the improvements, and they didn't want to wait. They want to have this done this fall so that everybody has access to the stadium, which serves as a multi-purpose use stadium, like the graduation is held there. And so they were really very, very enthusiastic about getting this done, and I was and they were wonderful to work with. So kudos to Chip and Michelle.
So when you said that they're gonna redo the football field, you mean they're gonna redo the bleacher side, or they're not gonna redo the whole football field, like resod or all that?
You know, I think they are, because they did talk
Really?
about the fact that they'd have to like wait a year for the sod
Yeah.
to take place, and they'd have to put
Ah,
an
okay,
alternate space for it in the meantime.
okay, wow,
So I think it's a
big,
big expensive project for
big, yeah,
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 but that's who knows when that'll
who
happen.
knows, yeah, right,
Yeah.
wow.
So Brenda sent out a letter to Matt Fee regarding Something Natural, the parking lot at Something Natural. That's currently a gravel parking lot, as I recall, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Matt replied saying that he would improve it. Brenda, did you get the feeling that he's going to put in a hard surface there, or
Oh, yes. I sent him all the information, Mickey,
yeah?
and like what the surface has to be. I sent him the regulations. He totally knows what needs to be done.
Yep.
And he just said it was on his to-do list, but now it's on top of his to-do list. Mary Beth and Augie, did you get my emails?
Yeah, I
About-
did. I got your email.
Specifically about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You didn't tell me, was it today?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see, I don't usually check emails
Yeah.
during the day.
Yeah, I got
I sent the our correspondence to you guys.
Oh, okay, I'll look for it
Augie
later.
is the one that brought this to our
Yeah.
attention, so I wanted to make sure that you knew what was going on. But Matt Fee again was there like apologetic, I'm sorry, it shouldn't be, boom, it's gonna be done. So
So they're gonna pave the entire thing from the street all the way?
No.
no, I think just the
No,
parking
I
area.
didn't think so, cause honestly, as much obviously as we know accessibility is important to me, it is part of the charm.
They're not gonna do
That
that.
bumpy, gravelly parking lot, so just that specific area, okay,
They're
gotcha,
gonna put in an accessible parking space with an accessible access aisle.
perfect, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leading to the ramp up into the building.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah.
Perfect.
But
Yeah.
Matt was great. He got back to me instantly.
Oh,
Excellent.
I know this has nothing to do with the whole accessibility part of it, but you know when you pull in something natural, you have the stones that you have to drive on first,
That's
and
what
then you have the rocks.
Yeah. What about,
No, I'm talking about the area near the street.
right?
When we pull in there, we bond out. Remember that? They have to fix the rocks. The rocks are not lined up right there. Yeah, so they have to regrade their parking lot. But that has nothing to do with commission disability. But that's just something maybe they should
All right.
know.
Well, we'll go
Yeah.
there in the next couple weeks and bottom out again, cause I don't remember exactly what happened.
And we're not going. No, it's the end of the bricks right there. When you drive off of it, there was a big drop because the rocks, after a while when it rains, it turns into, it gets flat.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you just said yourself, you
Yeah.
don't think it's an accessibility issue.
No, that's not.
Yeah, well, most parking lots here are horrible.
You know, they'll
That's
probably
nice.
address that when they're dealing with the parking space too. They.
Yeah,
hopefully
probably, the
get
price is
package.
regraded probably.
Yeah.
It happens such a while. But.
Okay, well, thank you, Brenda.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate
No,
it.
thank you.
So what else did Brenda do? She met. Okay, I'm gonna let you handle probably the next 3 or 4 on this list, Brenda, because
Okay.
there were things that you did. Candlewick Corner. Go ahead.
Yep, so Rocky at the last meeting mentioned that he went out to that Candlewood Corners out there on like 118 to like maybe 126 Southwood Drive. Yeah, and is that right, Southwood? No, what is it?
Wait, did you talk about the place,
South,
what's by the airport?
Old South Road, I'm sorry, Southwood
Oh.
Drive I used to live on in Louisiana. Old South Road, it's a place where they have multiple businesses out there. I think there's
Exactly,
a
with the-
restaurant out there, there's
Yeah,
other
with
things, and
What restaurant? What
he
do
went
you-
out there with his wife and there was no accessible parking space, so I visited and back in the day, I think John Keane developed it and I worked and it took me forever to try to get him to put an accessible parking space in.
That's
And he
not-
put in, at the time, there was no curb cuts. he put in, he put away, there's no accessible parking space out there. There's a sign in the bushes that is faded. You don't even know it's an accessible parking space sign, but good thing it is faded because it's not accessible parking anyways. Then they have an accessible parking signage out on the sidewalk, like for parallel parking. There's no accessible parking spaces. So I was gonna, there's a management company that owns that whole complex. It's called VTT Property Management, and their office happens to be out in Framingham. They own a lot of Nantucket property, I saw. But anyway, I was gonna send them an email, but instead I'm gonna go to the building department. Or I'm gonna see how many spaces that they have. I can measure it with my, I'm gonna see how many parking spaces they're supposed to have and go from there, because according to how many parking spaces was supposed to have, because nothing's striped out there. They have to have, there's a formula where they have to have so many accessible parking spaces. So I'm gonna start there. And then I thought, I'm not so sure all those sidewalks in front of the businesses, you can access them, so I figured, okay, so I'm gonna go out there tomorrow. I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna take pictures, so I'm gonna address the whole accessibility concern instead of just, you have to put in one accessible parking space. Everyone should have access to every one of those sidewalks in front of the businesses. And let's just say if there's over 25 and under 50, you have to have 2 wheelchair accessible parking spaces and two access aisles. And if that is the case, I'm going to ask for one on one side of the parking lot and one on the other side of the parking lot. So depending on what businesses that you're visiting, you have a choice of someplace to park. That sound good?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So I will email them tomorrow with pictures and we'll see what happens. Okay. So Rocky's the one that brought that to my attention. So we'll hopefully get accessible parking spaces in that area sooner rather than later. This is a big, huge management company. They have a gazillion properties, and I think just in Framingham alone, they have like 187 employees, so they should have
Wow.
money to put into accessible parking spaces. All right. Okay, so at the last year, we applied for that grant to extend the boardwalks and enlarge platforms down at the Galley Beach, the Jetties Beach, and Children's Beach. Plus, we wanted to put in some accessible paths that go from Hulbert Avenue, an extension of like Willard Street. There's a public path right opposite Willard Street that goes to the harbor. There's a bulkhead at the end of that path, so you have to step over the bulkhead to get onto the beach, which is not accessible. And then there's another public path, James Street. It's a James Street extension, and it's it looks like a shelled driveway, but it's actually a public path. But people that abut that path also use it as access to their driveways. But it is a public path. And then you go up on this, so you come to the end of the path and you go up on this concrete block, and then they have a natural path to the bulkhead. So this is what we were applying for. This is what we were applying for last year. And now we were denied the grant. And I was just blown away because we put a lot of time into this, and like I was really so disappointed that we didn't get the grant. So Mickey and I had a meeting with the grant compliance officer at Mass Office on Disability. His name is Evan George. Really super nice guy. He pulled our application. So funny, when you apply for this grant online, the minute you hit submit, you can't save it, nothing. The minute you hit submit, everything's gone. You're uploading files or uploading pictures, which is fine, but you don't get a copy of it. It's the unfortunate part, right? But nevertheless, there's a thing that the state has created. It's called a Community Compact Agreement. And they have this community compact agreement with every municipality in Massachusetts. You can be part of it or not be part of it. But if you are part of it, they have what they call best practices. And the best practice could be, one of them is accessibility. Another could be like improving playgrounds, or whatever whatever the best practice is. They probably have 10 disciplines, and you have to choose 2. And better accessibility is one of the practices. And if you choose that, you're golden. I mean, if you don't choose that, put it that way, if your town didn't choose that, they wouldn't even consider you for this grant. Well, I chose that we were not part of it. My fault. Number 1 error. And so once they saw that, the whole grant thing was they really didn't even consider us for eligible for this grant. And I told Evan, I goes, Evan, but we are. And he goes, well, Brenda, the minute you put no, I goes, you don't check to see if people really are or really are not. So I could say yes, and you wouldn't even check to see if that is true. And basically he said yes. I said, but I checked no, but you didn't see this, if that was actually true. And he goes, no, I didn't. So anyway, my fault. That will not happen again. That was a huge error on my part. And I knew how important that was. You know, I've read all my instructions. I've applied for this grant before. I knew how important it was. I just can't believe I said no. So anyway, that was one thing he told us. And we were asking for 5 different areas. He said it would have been better if I put all those as separate grant applications, which I'm going to do. And we should have had maybe more explicit drawings, which we're going to do. And they didn't think we asked for enough money. That was like the biggest thing. They're like, we couldn't believe the committee, the grant committee could not believe that you could do all this work for $48,000. And the reason why they could is because the DPW was doing this in-house, and all we were paying for was material. They were building it, they were installing it, they were going to put the footings in and everything. And when in the past, when we applied for it, we never had to say that the DPW, doesn't matter. We're applying for more money. It's going to be more explicit drawings. I will make sure that box is checked yes. And a lot of municipalities actually hire outside contractors to do the work. So we mentioned to Drew, if this is something that is too taxing on the DPW because they have so much going on, it's your choice if you want to hire an outside contractor. So you might end up hiring a nice outside contractor. Anyway, we're going to apply for the grant again. Mickey and I are meeting with Drew and Paul down at Galley Beach to like discuss like putting a bench down there, extending the boardwalk, putting a bench at the end of it, like was suggested at the one of our meetings. And at Jetty's Beach, we're extending the boardwalk. We want to enlarge the platform. We want to put benches around the platform in an area next to the benches for anyone with a wheelchair that they can sit next to their friends or family on the platform. At Children's Beach, which I love Children's Beach, at the platform on the beach, we're going to like at a 45-degree angle, extend the boardwalk kind of like out to the middle of the beach and put a platform out there so you can have closer access to the water, because right now you're up against the bulkhead. Which I love that whole thing. They got a bench there, it's great. But so that's what we're going to do at Children's. And then at the paths on Hulbert Street that lead to the harbor, what we're going to do now is we're going to want to put in an accessible path. The whole reason for the grant is to remove barriers or improve on access. So what we're going to do is put in an accessible path, and that will lead you to the bulkhead. But there's a nice grassed area right there to the left. We're asking them to put a little platform and a bench right there, a platform there and a bench. So someone with a wheelchair or a walker, they can sit on the bench, or if you're in a wheelchair, you can just go onto the platform. You get to see the view of the harbor without having to go over the bulkhead. So that's what we're going to propose there. And then maybe at James Street, we're going to put a ramp going up to that concrete. We want to make the that grassed area from from the concrete step to the bulkhead. If you put an accessible path there, and again, put a little platform there, put a ramp up the concrete step, put a platform there, put a bench there. Again, you're not getting onto the beach, but you're getting you're getting a great view of the harbor. So we're gonna meet with Drew and Paul on April 14th to solidify these plans and go from there. And hopefully they'll have all their information to me by mid-May, and I'm gonna apply for this by the end of May, even though the deadline is June 13th. I have way too much going on in June to even deal with 5 applications. So Drew and Paul are so great to work with, just saying.
Great.
That's
Right?
fantastic.
How long?
Does it
does
sound
it
good,
take?
right?
Yeah.
How long, like when will they announce, if we get the grant or not, once it's in?
Yeah, Georgia, they'll announce it usually like the end of November, the beginning of December.
Okay,
And when they
Right.
announce it, work has to be done by the following June. So if
okay,
we get
Oh.
it, all this work will be done for next summer.
okay. All right,
Yeah,
Wow. yeah, cool, okay,
yep.
that's great, yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep you posted about the whole grant process and stuff, and cross that. And because I think because Mickey and I had the meeting with Evan, it was a really good meeting, right, Mickey?
Yeah, it was
He
helpful.
he was great. He was and what some things he did say about the application, he says it was a very thorough application. I probably put in the most thorough application, so I was glad to hear that. I just checked the wrong box. I shouldn't say I just, but I mean, I checked the wrong box, so.
You
he gave
shouldn't
us
beat
really good
yourself up
information.
at all.
Huh?
I said you shouldn't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
I'm done beating myself up. I'm just relaying the facts, Mary Beth.
Just-
Yeah.
Just relaying the facts as I see them, as they occurred. So that was that. And then, so then we went out to fairgrounds, 2 fairgrounds, like where the building department is, planning use and stuff. Well, that parking lot is a mess. I mean, like, most people, when they come into the parking lot for 2 fairgrounds, they go to the right and they do go to the parking lot in front of the building. And then you have this big parking lot facing all like the garage door to the side of the building. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it.
Mm.
And what they did, they have a big, huge parking lot where people could park like overnight and stuff there. Do you remember that? Like, and so because of
I didn't
that, they
know they
had
could
to
do
put in
that.
so many accessible parking spaces in the in the asphalt in right when you pull into 2 fairgrounds. Well, they're anything but accessible parking spaces, but nevertheless, so we met there with Drew, and Drew was just like appalled that this was the condition of these parking spaces. People that work at the 2 fairgrounds were parked there. There was not signage on them. I mean, anyways, there's nothing right about them.
No,
So as you come in there, and before you go into that parking lot that faces the building, there's like 3 spaces right there, and they're gonna make 2 of them accessible and then have an access aisle. And then you can get right out of your car, and there's a walkway that goes right up to the ramp. So it will lead you you have an accessible path that will lead you from the accessible parking spaces, these 2 new ones, up the ramp to the front door. The problem is when you get to the front door, it's not accessible. It's and then you open that door and there's a very narrow vestibule, maybe 48 inches. And then they have a swing door that can either open out, can open it this way, or can open into the office. So how are we gonna make that accessible? Someday that place might get redone too, who knows? But they're gonna put in automatic door openers on the outside door. So you push a button on the outside, the door will swing out on, you'll go into the vestibule. There'll be another automatic door opener, and that swing door will swing in. So you'll have a straight path into those offices. So,
What is this? The building department?
yeah, where the building
Yeah.
department is, the 2 fairgrounds, that old building, and
is there a ramp there now?
Oh, they have a beautiful brick ramp that they installed. I mean, it is gorgeous and it cost a lot of money.
I bet.
It's a beautiful ramp, but there's nothing wrong with the ramp. It just gets you to an inaccessible entrance. And there's, and there's, yeah, there's really, so then what
And
they're
are
gonna do-
Are you talking about the front, Brenda? The front of
Yes.
the building? Yeah.
Yeah,
I've fallen down those stairs several times
right.
before
Well,
they put the ramp in. I'm glad to know they put a ramp in.
oh, the ramp is beautiful. It's
I
brick,
haven't
it's
seen the
beautiful.
ramp,
There's nothing wrong
yeah.
with what they have there now.
Okay, good. Good.
So what they have is six accessible parking spaces
Mhm.
in that parking lot. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna put two where I described where they're gonna have it. Then the other four, they're gonna leave like leave like up against, they're gonna leave, they're gonna relocate them in that area. They're gonna put like a space, an access aisle and a space, and then another space, an access aisle and a space. So they will have 3 access aisles and 6 spaces there. And the reason why they need so many accessible parking spaces there is because they created this overnight parking lot right next to it, and that is all dirt. And so they kind of have an accessible parking space on dirt, so they made these accessible parking spaces there. We went inside and I talked to Paul Murphy, who's the building inspector, and told him what we were planning. And when we do put in those accessible parking spaces, we're gonna make sure that the employees do not park in those accessible parking spaces. The optics of you coming into a town-owned space, property, and you see people parking the accessible parking spaces that actually work in that building that do not have, that are not authorized to park there, does not bode well for the town. So we will make sure that when they do get, when Drew does do that, that we will make sure that we let everyone in that office building know that they are not parking spaces for them. Good?
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we met with Drew and Paul about the grant. We talked about that. And then somebody contacted me about the Cottage Hospital. They said the parking lot was full of sand. This person happens to use Canadian crutches. Any kind of sand underneath the crutch is like a slippery surface for him. He went to the urgent care building. At the urgent care building, I don't know if you're aware of it, the signage directing you to the door to the urgent care. The door is an accessible door. It's just not an automatic door.
No.
There's nothing wrong with it. The push, the pull weight is perfect. The handle is, except when you're using crutches or you have to remove yourself, or maybe Nancy, maybe when you're using a walker, if you have to remove yourself from your support structure to open a door, that's not safe.
Mhm.
There is an automatic door on the opposite side of that vestibule. So there's 2 doors going into the vestibule. One that they direct you to does not have an automatic door, but the one that, like the Dr. Lepry's side of the building, if I want to say, does have an automatic door opener. So there is an automatic door opener there. But there's a threshold. I'm telling you, the threshold's got to be a good 1.5 inches. It is a tripping hazard. It is, I don't know how a wheelchair can even get over that. And then, but once you get in the vestibule, there is an automatic door opener to go into the office. So I went into the office, I introduced myself to the receptionist. Her name was Samantha, she was great. She happened to be there when the person with the crutches couldn't open that door to the vestibule by himself, and he banged on the window. She came, she was just mortified that she had to do this, you know, no, she was happy to do it. She was sorry that he was unable to open the door. It wasn't an automatic door opener. And she told me that wheelchairs trying to get in the automatic door, sometimes they almost fall out of the wheelchairs because, I mean, the threshold is so thick. So
Oh, wow.
I sent an email to Lee Shaughnessy, who is like the maintenance person out there. He's the one that I contacted, Nancy, when you wanted the door, when you contacted me with the hospital doors. And I told him just what I'm telling you. And so the parking lot is gonna be swept out April 4th, which is Saturday. So there'll be no sand in the parking lot. He is trying to do something about the thresholds right now. He's trying to shave them down. He has a company coming to take care of that problem. And anyways, that's kind of what I heard from him, that they're gonna take care of the thresholds. They're cleaning up the parking lot. But I'm gonna go back to him also, and I'll CC somebody from the hospital on it about maybe installing an automatic door opener. I did suggest, if you're not gonna install an automatic door opener, you gotta place signage on that route where you say, urgent care access this way. If you need an automatic door opener, please use this entrance and direct them to that entrance. So if they don't put an automatic door opener on that entrance, I'm gonna like be very vigilant about putting with them about making sure they put signage to direct people to the automatic door, which is only right around the corner.
Yeah.
And there's an accessible route to it. You're on a brick sidewalk. So
So
that's what
can
happened.
I
up
give
at
you
the
a pet
hospital.
peeve about the hospital for a minute?
Pardon me?
A pet peeve.
Oh, Georgia, give it to me.
When you go in, Jerry's at the desk and sometimes somebody else, sometimes not. You gotta
Yeah.
walk all the way down the hall to check in a computer and then walk all the way back up to the
Yeah.
piano before you get a blood test or do anything. And it really pisses me off every single time I do it. So I complained enough that the last time I had to go, they said, well, if somebody's at the desk, not Jerry, but somebody else, they can check you in. And I said, that makes sense. What is the point of having people sitting there right by the door and you're supposed to walk all the way down? And it's an effort for me to do that. So it's hard. And I do it because I don't want to go, I'll put you in a wheelchair. No, I don't want you to put me in a wheelchair. I can walk with my cane, but if I don't want to be in the wheelchair till I have to be in a wheelchair yet. And I will, but I'm not yet. So it just makes me annoyed. So the last time I did go, I went and I said, I'm not walking all the way down there. Check me in. And they did. I just complained every time nicely. I said, I know it's not your fault, okay? To the people, to those nice girls, it isn't their fault, but it's a stupid process in my personal opinion. But that's one of many things I find poor about the building of our hospital. And I support it 100%. But boy, is it, talk about a waste of space. I just can't even imagine the amount of money it costs to heat and air condition that place. It's ridiculous to me. Sorry.
Now, that's an interesting,
Keep going if you wanted, but go ahead.
well,
Oh,
on that
stop.
one point, Georgia, I think that's it's a good solution. It's sort of like a reasonable accommodation.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe we could suggest to the hospital, whoever,
Yeah,
they put a sign there as sort of an
Right.
accessible check-in space. So you don't have to
Right.
walk all the way down that hallway.
yeah. It just, and then walk all the way back again. I mean,
Right.
it's just so annoying to me. So, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I think it's just so a waste. It's enough when I park, in a handicapped space and then to walk in. It's not like it's a short walk in most of the time either. So, which is how it is. But, anyway, yeah.
George, I
just
think it's a
think
really
they-
great point, and I can reach out to the hospital about this, like,
They built a city hospital in a town is how I feel about it. Just having spent a lot of time in the city hospitals, it's kind of what it is to me. So, but anyway, I've been surprised they haven't offered to do wedding receptions in that foyer, any of the foyers. They're all enormous. You could have 100 people easy in there with hors d'oeuvres
Yeah,
and stuff and drinks.
Particularly with the piano playing.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That too,
Love the
right?
piano.
I
Right.
love to dance in that area.
So, okay, thank you for listening. I won't say anything again more.
no, Georgia, I think you brought up a very good point about like,
Mm.
about the process you have to go to check in.
Yeah.
I think a reasonable accommodation would be to have signage for anyone that, you know, has ambulatory
would be good.
concerns.
Well,
You
especially
can
too, you know,
check
for
in at
me,
the front desk, you know, we'd be happy to check you in at the front desk, so you don't have to do
Right.
just what you said, Georgia, and I think,
well, Jerry has always said, look, I'll get somebody to come and get a wheelchair. I said, I don't want somebody to bring a
no,
wheelchair. You know, I don't
No.
want that. First of all, it can take half an hour for somebody to show up to do the wheelchair. I'm not doing that. So, you know, my time is as valuable as anybody else's. So
and you
anyway,
shouldn't have to be in a wheelchair, Georgia, that's
I
not,
don't
that's the
have
whole
to
idea,
yet.
is to remain independent.
it's coming, but not yet. So I don't want to until I have to. I've done it enough. I've been in a wheelchair a lot, but not for the last 2 years. And I'm just hoping to keep that for a while.
I applaud that,
It's a goal. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
we can take care of that,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
Great idea. That's great.
Yep. So there's, also, you know, Nantucket Housing has that new, like, housing, units, they call it Wiggles Way, right out
Yes.
there, Fairgrounds Road. It's really a beautiful, I mean, when we looked at the design with Matt, I mean, I think they did an amazing job. And they put in 2 wheelchair accessible units there. And one was a 2-bedroom, one was a 3-bedroom. So, you know, I've been in contact sporadically with the housing authority because I really wanted to make sure that these units were gonna be utilized by someone that really needed it. Somebody that had ambulatory concerns, you know, maybe not necessarily in a wheelchair, but, you know, in a walker or just like whatever, that it didn't just go to the general public that didn't have any ambulatory concerns. Now,
Right.
so when they did advertise for the apartments, they did, they reached out to me and we figured out what we wanted to say about the wheelchair accessible apartments and stuff, and so we did. And they found someone that uses a wheelchair for the 3-bedroom unit, which is great, right? So I knew that for a while. So Laura at the Saltmarsh Center, that's where my office is, or my space is, I should say. Everyone uses that office and it's okay. I love working there, by the way. I mean, it couldn't work out any better for me. I love the people, I love everything about it. But I asked Laura if she would put out in her newsletter that there was a 2-bedroom wheelchair accessible apartment available. But before I had her do that, I contacted Housing Nantucket to see what was going on. So anyway, they emailed me back and this is what I got, okay? So, which I'm very happy about. It said the 3-bedroom unit will be occupied by a tenant requiring the use of a wheelchair. So great, right? The 2nd-bedroom unit will be occupied by an individual referred to us by the Martha's Vineyard Community Services. I guess MV Community Service, I'm assuming it's Martha's Vineyard. The tenant receives disability services through his agency. Although a wheelchair is not required, the design of the unit will be of a great benefit now as this individual grows and develops. So I was happy about that too. You know, they're going, the units are being utilized just the way that we were hoping they would be utilized. And I was very happy about that. So I just want to share that news with you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yep. And yeah. There you go. Oh, and I know what else. And I sent the email to Augie and Mary Beth. Okay, so Augie mentioned that he loves to visit Millie's restaurant down there at the Rotary. So Augie, when you come down Old South Road, he'll cross over Old South Road to the Inquirer Mirror side. Then there's a crosswalk to get over to Millie's. But unfortunately, the ramp to Millie's is in the parking lot, is in the back of the building. Yep. So now there's a dirt path, a narrow one at that leads to the parking lot. Well, that's no good for Augie.
Yep.
So Augie would stay on the Inquirer Mirror side, right, Augie?
Yeah.
And then you'd cross over Sparks Avenue into the parking lot, into the traffic, right? Is that what you do, Augie?
Yeah.
And Dave, his sweet self.
So anyways, I reached out to Drew about this. So Drew said that he said he really believes that the fence to Millie's at the Rotary is on town property. So he's gonna have Paul Santos survey that area. And if the fence is on the wrong side, on the town side of the property, he's gonna ask them to move it to off town property, which I think that I have faith that they'll do. And then what he was hoping to do, instead, he was hoping just like, because we want to get this done sooner rather than later, like it's a brick it's a brick sidewalk out in the front of it, but he said, what if we just do asphalt? You know, and grade the asphalt all the way down to the parking lot from the brick area, hopefully widen that sidewalk, widen it, you know, and just put asphalt in there so that Augie, when you cross over at Millie's, you can come right down into the parking lot. So that's our hope.
Thank you.
I think the fence is on town property because they originally put in
Oh, yeah, white fence.
a white picket fence, which was really cute. And then
Yeah.
very suddenly, in short order, it was changed to apparently what the town wanted. Because the white picket was there and then it was
Yeah, they just
gone and
wanted-
replaced, yeah.
Yeah, they just like wanted, it's like a wooden fence.
Yeah,
didn't
they
want
wanted,
anything.
you know, I don't know how to describe what that kind of fence
A
is.
split rail,
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what they have,
didn't
right?
want it painted or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't want, and
Yeah.
because the picket
get
was
that.
white, they wanted it just natural.
Yeah, I
color.
don't get why they had it. I just don't.
Okay. Well, Drew seems
Right.
pretty confident that maybe that fence is encroaching on town property, so.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's gonna get it surveyed and we're gonna take care of this.
That parking lot is tricky in the summer. There's people coming, going, and there's no
Yeah.
pathway. You
No.
know, I mean, they're coming in one direction and turning in another
Yeah.
direction. It's always a tricky parking lot anyway. So yeah, I could see it being possible.
At least we can get Augie safely to the parking lot. Once you're in that parking lot, Augie,
You're on your own.
Yeah, because it's
They
literally,
opened today.
yeah, because
Oh.
it's a crosswalk
Okay.
there and it doesn't make any sense.
The Rotary does.
Yeah, they can't
Mattakit
go
doesn't
across
open
it.
until May something.
Yeah, because they have a crosswalk, you might as well, you know, be able to use it what it's supposed
Yeah.
to be used for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep, and Drew, I mean, not Drew, but Augie also brought to my attention, like the sidewalk, outside the Gaslight Restaurant. There is this rectangular cable box, whether it's being
Yeah.
used or not right now, I'm not so sure. But anyway, it's raised about this much from the bricks, so the bricks have to be relayed to smooth that area out. And it is on Victor, it's on the list for Victor to do. Victor's got a ton of projects here on Nantucket, but hopefully, Augie, that will get done sooner rather than later, but
Yeah.
it's on their list to get done, so just want you to know.
Thanks, Brenda.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Augie, for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
I have somebody who's staying at my house who is an engineer who's going to be working for Victor. So I've been telling
really?
her all the roads that I think need to be. They're getting ready. They've built a new plant, a new asphalt plant. So they built a new one, and they're working out the kinks right now, actually. So I gave her a list today of a few places I thought needed. There's a hole over here, and
Pothole
Pleasant
list.
Street's a disaster, and you know, so
Yeah.
she
they're
worked for she was
Oh,
engineer for the sewer project for until last year.
yeah, what road is into the new school on?
Nice. They're working on North Water Street right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And they did a nice sidewalk, I don't know if they're on Center Street, where the sewer project was going on, you know, like
Yeah.
so like from where American Seasons is going up to the Congregational Church. They did a nice job with that sidewalk,
Nice.
All right.
little by little.
Yeah, I was hoping to say, you know, like when you're going like down Milestone and then you make the turn on, it's like Nobody Road where,
Nobody farm.
not, you know, Nobody Farm, like where the Nantucket New School is, like
Yeah.
they digged up the road right there, so when you go over it, it's like this big like bump they go over, and this bump could literally probably destroy your suspension on your car.
Okay,
There's a
Okay.
lot of those.
yeah,
No, but they dig
Yeah.
the portion of the street, so when you go over it, you gotta go really slow.
Does it look like someone's aware and they're gonna fix it, or just?
Yeah, they're gonna fix it, but
Oh.
they had to dig it up a little bit. I mean, it digged up like the pavement a little bit,
Mm,
and like
okay,
it's like a big bump.
okay.
Yeah, it's bad.
I'll mention it to Lexi, so.
All right, that's all I got for you.
Okay, Brenda, thank you. I knew I just had to get you started. You could take over that update.
Yeah. I had this conversation with Mickey yesterday when I was at the office. I sent him the update. We talked about the update. And he goes, Mickey, I want you to do the update. I said, if you need me to chime in, I will.
You chimed
Good
in,
one,
thank you.
Mickey.
Yes. Good job, Mickey.
Thank you.
Um,
Okay, so the update is done. That's it for old business too, I imagine. Other business we already talked a little about. Does anybody have any other business they want to bring up to the group? Doesn't-
I would do.
Okay,
You were talking about the hospital entrances and stuff. They had hired a nurse, a retired nurse, and she did that. And then she also consulted with people otherwise. So I think some of the fault should be taken off the person who really said what to do. It just isn't right. I don't think to give the blame.
I don't know what you mean, Jeanette. What do you mean?
Talking about Dr. Lepre and the other, all the entrances
Okay.
to the hospital, and
In
you
that
have
building,
to
you mean?
walk. She talked with experts on it, or she consulted and all. So that's all I knew, because I was on a smaller committee than the big one.
Yeah, the biggest thing about the entrance to the vestibule to the Anderson building is the thresholds. Like the door is accessible, just doesn't have an automatic door opener on it. The other one does have an automatic door opener. Once you get in the vestibule, it's great. There's an automatic door opener going right into the offices, no problem. It's that threshold, that lip, it is a tripping hazard. It's like, it's not in compliance, put it that way. So the hospital's aware of it and the hospital's gonna take care of it. When I went in that office, I should say, I spoke with the receptionist, Samantha, and she said that everyone that needs to know in the hospital world knows exactly what happened when this person came in and couldn't open the door because of his crutches and stuff, and the sand in the parking lot. It was just, they do a report after, at the end of their workday, and this is all part of the report, she said. So like people like on different levels of the hospital, I'm not exactly sure where the report goes, but it was, a lot of people knew about it and they're on it, and that they're very much aware of what happened and what's going on with those entrances. So again, they're not required to put an automatic door opener in where they direct you to the Anderson building. However, I'm going to ask them to put signage directing them, whoever needs an automatic door, please use this entrance.
Thank you.
Good idea. Nice.
okay, so we skipped over the approving the minutes, so we could probably do that now. It's the open session minutes for January 31st, 2025.
Yep.
Has anybody read them or have any comments regarding those?
I've read part of them.
I skimmed them, but I hadn't finished reading them, so, but I think they're all good. They always are.
We can put it off if anybody wants to read them further. We can approve them right now. Let's approve them right now.
I move that we approve the minutes from January
Thank you.
Second.
25.
Second, all those in
Who
favor?
second that?
I,
Jeanette,
That did.
Jeanette, love it.
So just say aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I love that, Mickey. Just say aye. All of-
Well, we probably should be doing a roll call, but it's pretty clear who says aye and who doesn't.
Yeah,
I'll put
Okay.
it in the minutes that you did a roll call.
Thank you.
But if they look at this video, Mickey, they'll know that you didn't.
I know. That's all right. We'll take that chance. So I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yep.
Thank
And-
you.
Take care.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Brenda, as always.
Yeah.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Very much.
I'm gonna be gone a lot of April. I got a couple of trips, the one with my family. They come from the West Coast. We're going to the Bahamas. It's the kids'
Oh,
April
nice.
break. And then my sisters and I are gonna go, Soup to Yoga has a yoga retreat in Portugal. And my two sisters and I are gonna go on it with the
Nice.
Nantucket.
A yoga retreat, huh? Is that what we're calling it now?
Namaste, just want you to know. And I'm the stiffest person you ever wanna meet, Mary Beth.
No,
so
no,
this is-
yoga retreat.
I wish you could take my 4 sisters with you, but anywhere out of the country would be good. But
That's okay, Georgia. I'll let you handle your sisters, okay?
Yeah, I know. I'll let you handle yours, Brenda.
Yeah. Oh, my sisters are
Yeah.
great. There's a reason why we're
Mine are
traveling
fine.
together.
It's just that it's been an ordeal. We've been, it's this, my mother died a week ago, and we've been we have a sister's text, which we do every day, and it's been bizarre, just bizarre, trying to get everybody to agree on, trying to have a funeral in Virginia and a burial is up here, and they no longer will allow a plane with a dead body to land here anymore.
I'm just